Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Boston Scientific. We stream it live on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! You know, sometimes I want to bring y'all behind the scenes so y'all can see. I'll be back here, man. I'll be killing it. Coming up today, though, we are going to talk about the winners and the who is the hers from the NFL draft. Talking about the current Dallas Cowboys, the veterans, if you will, although some of these guys are not veterans. But that's going to be the meat and potatoes of today's show. Plus, Will McClay joined 105 through the fan. Shout out to G-Bag Nation. And he sounded off about the NFL draft. We got a clip about that, and we'll talk about some of the things he mentioned, some of these players that leads into the winners and losers of today's show. And in the roundup, we got another intriguing undrafted free. Look, our undrafted free agent list is very interesting. It's very interesting. This team is going to be hard to crack in general, but there's some guys on that undrafted free agents list that I don't think they're going to want to let out this building if they show off in camp, if they show off in preseason. So we got another feature for that. We'll be doing that pretty much every day leading up to training camp or mini camp or what have you. So make sure y'all stick around for the roundup. And then after that, we'll get into the winners and the who, the hers. What's good, Bomb Squad? My winners of the day. What made me want to talk about this topic today, I was listening to my guy B, and B as in Barry Church, and who I'm gonna try to get back on the show, and Danny McClay, and they were talking about how when they were on the team, and I think it was the Mark Barron draft, and when I say Mark Barron, is really the Mo Claiborne draft, and they were just sitting there like, please, Lord, don't let them take Mark Barron, because that means that likely somebody is out in that room. And I think it reminded me as a fan that there is a real life human element to those guys in that locker room during this process. You're not even playing. You're just watching the draft. You know, you're rooting for these young men to get their opportunity. But at the end of the day, a lot of them are coming to take your job. So as I'm listening and cracking up at their human element to the situation, I'm like, how many of those guys in the room right now are feeling the same way? How many of those guys are like, woo, I'm glad they passed on Steve Avila. Woo, I'm glad they passed on, et cetera, et cetera. And how many of them are like, damn, I'm going to have to step up. I'm going to have to step up because they drafted that guy to take my spot, or they drafted that guy to compete at my spot. So I wanted to kind of get into the winners and the losers. And that's kind of how I designated. We could have did it differently, but that's kind of the cut and dry aspect of it. So I got a handful of winners and just a few of the losers. But the winners are mostly positioned. So we'll get into that and we'll have a good time doing it. If you want to call into the show, you can. 351-999-3787. Now, I saw you brought up Cropper, bro. He's not today's feature. I started off going that route and ended up somewhere else. And I said, I won't talk about him today. I'll probably talk about Cropper tomorrow. I'm actually trying to get some more Cropper film, like actual film. And I found out a way to do it. So I got it. I'm going to study it. I want to watch this kid because I think he could be very interesting down at camp as well. But the dude in our roundup is not Cropper. It's actually...
It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time. It's time.
It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Hey, yo. Before we get to the spotlight, because he's there, I want to talk about this crazy stat that I saw yesterday on Twitter. I was in a debate with an Eagle fan. I mean, and you know, this is why I don't like Twitter, man. Because people don't really know how you view your team or how you talk about your team or whatever. They assume because you're arguing, they're arguing with people all day, trolls and just ridiculous stuff on Twitter, that you can't have a normal human reaction anymore on Twitter. A normal human back and forth. I don't even call it a debate. I wasn't even debating with this dude. I was just giving him the facts. And I was talking about how impressive and good the Cowboys' run defense was with Jonathan Hankins. I'm like, dog, I'm not trying to give you Skittles and rainbows here. When Jonathan Hankins played, the Cowboys' defense, run defense, was fantastic. Damn it, I didn't know it was this good. So here's a crazy stat of the day. The Cowboys' rush success, and this comes from Joey Ice, which comes from, I believe, Nate Tice. The Cowboys' rush success rate on defense with Jonathan Hankins on the field 74%. The best run defense in the league last year was 73%. In other words, with a true nose tackle on the field, they were the best rushing defense in the entire NFL. Well, don't you know I took that right there? I copy pasted and I just said, mic drop. Sir, I don't need to talk anymore. This is exactly what I was telling you. And this is what I meant by yesterday when we did our rating the draft and we featured, obviously Mozzie Smith. And you remember I was talking about how I think Dan Quinn saw what it meant to bring Jonathan Hankins on this team. How impactful he was and the possibilities of having a healthy trio of a Jonathan Hankins, Mozzie Smith, and Quentin Bohanna of those kind of nose tackle run stop guys, a plethora of those type of guys. Last year, that wasn't the case. Last year, your third guy in Bohanna was your first guy. Think about that for a second. He was the first guy for about the first 7 or 8 games. And then he got hurt after the third week or so because he was showing some flashes prior to that. Now you got 2 bona fide studs and a dude in Bo who could be a rotational dude. You don't have to play a lot. So when you hear McClay talk about, hey, man, we haven't seen a guy like Mozzie, rated this high, I think that has a lot to do with what they saw in Hankins. I think there was a little bit of a value increase based off of how they want to play and what they saw with Hankins. But unbelievable stat. The Cowboys, 74% run defense success rate with Jonathan Hankins on the field. The best run defense in the league was 73. Well, I tell you, Mozzie Smith and Jonathan Hankins about to make this defense go crazy. All right, today's undrafted free agent spotlight, you can see it right there, is the tight end / halfback Noah. Almost called him Noah Fant. That's his cousin, Princeton Fant, not Noah Fant, Princeton Fant. Okay, Princeton Fant is very interesting to me because he's got that athleticism for a tweener H-back type that doesn't make sense, right? Think Jameez Olawale on steroids, right? If you guys remember, the Cowboys signed Jameez Olawale and Kellen Moore just didn't use him. And then when he tried to use him, Jameez just couldn't catch the rock. It was a pointless signing. But I wanted to feature him because he came to Tennessee, and this is an athlete. You know how high school guys, they don't know where to put him. They put athlete next to him. That was Princeton Fant at Tennessee. He started off as a receiver, came in as a receiver, moved to running back, and then he settled in at tight end. He only goes about 6'1" or so, roughly 230 or so pounds. So he's not a big dude, but he's not a receiver. So I wonder if they're going to use him in an H-back type of role. And if you watch him play down there, you see that his testing numbers from his pro day actually match up on the film. He ran a 4.66, jumped a 10 foot 3 inches in a broad jump and 35.5 inches in the vert. And all of those would have ranked top 7th in the combine amongst tight ends. So this is an explosive athlete for his size, for his position. I don't think he'll play a traditional tight end for the Cowboys because one thing that we know about Mike McCarthy over the years is that he'll use a versatile guy like this. He's done it with a John Kuhn. He used him all over the place. Randall Cobb did a bunch of things. He made the receiver turn into a running back in Ty Montgomery. They also signed Hunter Lipke, another versatile type of dude. Princeton Fant may not be the blocking fullback, but he's one of those kind of move around guys, that those H-back guys, kind of throwback a little bit, that I'm going to keep my eye on. I think he could be really fun to watch down there at camp if Coach Mike McCarthy decides to roll with an H-back fullback type. There could be a fun competition between Lipke and him. And interestingly enough, for Fant, he had more rushing touchdowns last year than he had receiving touchdowns. Now, his production is not going to be there. He didn't have a ton of production. You're just basically going off of the traits. You're going off of the athleticism, and you want to get him in here and see where he could fit. But he did have a career year last year, 8 touchdowns total, but 5 of those were rushing. Also threw a touchdown pass to Jalen Hyatt. So very interesting and versatile player that could be one of those fun ones to keep an eye on when we get to rookie minicamp, honestly, because I want to see where they're going to line him up. Little bit of a future thing here. I'm trying to get him on the show. We reached out to him. He reached back. We're going to try to get him on the show. I want to talk to him, and I want to know, where do they view him? Do they view him as a pure tight end? Do they want him to put on about 10 pounds? Or do they look at him as a move-around guy? So I want to talk to him. I want the nation to get to know him a little bit more. I think he's one of the most interesting guys from a football standpoint that the Cowboys signed. Today's UDFA Spotlight, Princeton Fant. Before we move on with Will McClay, I want to kind of get in the chat and just kind of talk to you guys about Fant. For those who may be, big time SEC fans that watched him a lot, just kind of your thoughts or just your thoughts in general on him before we talk about Will McClay here. Marcus says, I think he can cause mismatches. Yeah. Fant and Hunter are talented. They are, and I'm starting to see the more and more you dive into this undrafted list, why a lot of analysts rated the Cowboys as number one when it came to undrafted free agent acquisitions, because there's a lot of talented dudes that there's only 7 rounds, right? Where I was saying this to myself, if we were back in the day where they had, I think it was 12 rounds, these dudes are getting drafted left and right, but that's not the case anymore. So they kind of center in on specifics with a lot of these players unless you're just uber talented or uber productive. Yes, Big SARS, that's the competition between Fant and Lipke, 100%, if they decide to do it. And don't rule out, this is another thing to think about. Sean McEwen, know me. I'm a big fan of Sean McEwen. Sean McEwen currently right now is you're likely your tight end 4, and he was that move around guy in the sense of put him in the backfield, lead block, and things like that. And I thought he did a solid job. If they wanted to roll right now with 4 tight ends, I think that Sean McEwen is your 4th tight end. However, if they wanted to add a little bit more versatility to that role, if they wanted to add a guy that can carry the rock or a guy that can catch the ball a little bit better, more athleticism, that's where Hunter Lipke, that's where Princeton Fant can give you something different from a Sean McEwen. All 3 of them are undrafted guys, and all 3 of them bring something different to the table. Lipke is more of a runner. Fant can do a lot more athletic things and be more of a catch. Look, you see the running back in Fant after the catch, right? And then McEwen is more of that blocker type, and you can use him as a tight end. So let's go ahead and let's throw in Sean McEwen in that bunch. And if you guys follow me last year, before we get to camp, and we used to do it for rookie mini camp, but I don't know if we'll do it this year. We have camp battles. I'm going to keep my eye on that one. I think McEwen, Fant, and Lipke could be a very fun camp battle if they decide to run it that way. But long way to go until we figure out the numbers game on how they want to do things. So, yeah. Last year, Vasher was definitely a part of the group, and Vasher had some moments. Vasher was the second-year player, I believe, second-year player Tom, who showed some moments and whatnot, but a guy that needed to get better as a route runner, a guy that didn't get better as a route runner, and Simi was better. They drafted a receiver. They signed Turpin. He wasn't making this roster unless he snapped out. And that's kind of the same thing for a lot of these bottom of the roster dudes that are coming into their second year. You're going to have to snap to make this roster because it's a deep and talented roster because of what they did prior to the draft, and then you got the drafted players who hold the pedigree. So I don't know who this year's Fant would be, or Vasher would be. Cowboys always hit with tight ends and undrafted, says CJ. Sean McEwen, Peyton Hendershot. Ooh, who said Chris Cooley? Chris Cooley, yeah, that's a good name. How big was Chris Cooley? That's a good name. If Fant could be like a Chris Cooley type, my goodness. He was a problem for Dallas. He gave us headaches a ton with Washington. That's a good name. Chris Cooley. I would love that. I mean, you falling in love. You all in time, so you in love. But yeah, nobody should fall in love. I mean, I don't really know what your point is about the Vasher thing. I just wanted to bring it up because I saw you You talk about it in there. But we're just highlighting the undrafted free agents, Tom. We got Toxic Tom back today, y'all. We're just highlighting the undrafted free agents and guys to keep an eye on when we get down there. My goodness. Let's get some power of positivity up in here. My guy, Mr. Ronnie, aka my Reading brother. What's good, man?
How you doing? Good morning. God bless you and your family and your show and your boy Voss and his show too and his family. I just want to say you started off hot. I like the topic that you start off. I think that fan guy is going to be very interesting at camp because I was looking at a couple of his highlights. He got a lot of things that I think that Mike McCarthy will try to work with. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think that the draft class that they pick, they're like the one that's undrafted, them players, they are really good. So it's going to be hard for a lot of the people that's on the team right now. Yeah. But they're going to have to bring the game. I think even Tober is going to have to bring his game because that boy, I mean, I'm not trying to take off the thing, but that guy on Moreno, the receiver, he's going to be something else in camp. I would like to see what he's going to do. But for now, anyway, that's all I got to say. God bless you and the family like always, and keep up the good work, my brother.
Salute. Well, so you stick around for Tober because he makes one of our list of winners and losers today. And let's go ahead and get into that, by the way. Let's talk about the winners and losers of following the draft. And before we do that, we got to talk about what Will McClay said on 105.3 The Fan. He had about a 15-minute interview, and he talked about a bunch of things. But I'm just going to pull out the offensive line part because that is really where a lot of us are interested in knowing why he made the decisions he made at the offensive line. And he was very adamant about the process going into the draft about the offensive line. And he even talked about Tyler Smith, where Tyler Smith would play, or that puzzle is what he called it. They're still figuring out. So here's Will McClay on G-Bag Nation discussing.
Do you see Tyler Smith playing tackle? And if so, what's your vision for left guard?
I mean, that's a puzzle that will be continued to be figured out because we have talented people there. And what we want to try and do is get our best five, and that's what training camp is for. That's what OTAs are for and all those things. It's easy to say it should be this, but you want to go through it. We have a new offensive line coach. You know, we're doing things new offensively, so it's an opportunity to start fresh and put the best five on the field. One thing I will know that Tyler should and will be in that best five.
I was surprised you guys didn't come out with another offensive lineman, Will, before a pick 169 anyway, a higher one. What gives you confidence to not add another player higher up?
Well, we've drafted people. We've seen guys develop. We signed Chuma Adoga in free agency, you know, we just feel like the development of that group is continuing to grow, and you can't pour all of your resources into the offensive line. But if you have quality people and you have young guys that are continuing to grow, college football is not played like the NFL. So when you draft a kid out of college, there's going to be growing pains. But you want to pick the guys with the traits and with the mental fortitude and the ability to continue to grow. Everybody doesn't have all 5 first-round picks on the offensive line. So it's those guys that come in that are willing to put in the work, that are willing to learn from these stages. We got a lot of young guys that we have invested in, and it's their time to shine, and it's their opportunity to shine. We'll continue to try and add to that, but there's also other holes and places and things that we need to do for our roster.
He said we got a lot of young guys that we invested a lot of time in. Time for y'all to step up, man. You know, he look, this is interesting because it is a vote of confidence, right? But it's also, I'm putting the pressure on y'all. So we'll talk about these guys being winners, but they may not be winners for long if they don't step it up. But here's our first part of the show, our first winners following the NFL draft. And it's basically those backup offensive linemen. Because the Cowboys did not really draft a guy high up in the draft, and you heard, McClay almost, I don't want to say offended, but he was very adamant in defending their process. And he said something that we kind of brought up earlier in the draft process where, look, we would love to take an offensive lineman in the first round. It's clearly a huge hole. But if you look around the league, teams are not doing that. Like, you have to be able to get by. You have to be able to still develop guys without picking a bunch of first or second round offensive linemen. Now, that I would have not complained at all. I wanted an offensive lineman in the first or second round. But at some point, you've got to be able to develop somebody like a Tyler Biadasz, right? A fourth round guy, fifth round guy, and you turn him into a staple of your offensive line. And he brought up Coach Mike Solari, who's in the middle here, who is tasked to improve all of these dudes. And the first one there, Josh Ball, who is moving into guard, your 2021 fourth round pick. Hey, man, we invested a lot in these guys. You got to step up. Josh Ball is one of them. Now, that experiment at right tackle was probably done. You know, them not drafting a guard until possibly the fifth round allows Josh Ball the chance to compete there. Same could be said for Matt Fournier, who had 3 starts. He had his opportunity last year and didn't do well. You know, in his 3 starts, he gave up 13 pressures and 6 quarterback hits. You know, and that's coming from, you know, in those 3 starts where Cooper Rush was a starter for 2 of those games, and Cooper Rush was getting the ball out ridiculously fast. Think about that for a second. You know, you're allowing pressures and quarterback hits to a guy who ain't even trying to hold the ball. So he's got to step up, but he's technically a winner because he's going to have that chance to compete. Matt Waletzko might be the biggest winner, though. He might be the biggest winner because he might be your most talented player. And again, don't mistake talent for a surefire guaranteed thing. It's just that they didn't sign a swing tackle. They didn't draft a swing tackle. We don't really know quite yet what's going on with Tyron Smith, but I do know that Tyron Smith is going to miss time. So Matt Waletzko, who was placed on IR last year, didn't really get a chance to play in the regular season. Got a chance to play in preseason after his shoulder situation. And we were kind of excited. Like, okay, look, he looks way better than Josh Ball out there. Matt Waletzko, another winner. Chima Edoga, who signed a 1-year deal coming from the Falcons by the way of the Jets, 3rd round pick in 2019. Cowboys has shown interest before in Chima. Maybe he's your biggest winner. Because if they decide to not go Tyler Smith at guard, Edoga right now as we speak might be your guard. However, you heard Will McClay say in that clip, best 5, and Tyler Smith is a part of that best 5. The best 5 right now, Tyler Smith, is part of that best 5. Tyron Smith injury withstanding, the best 5 includes Tyron and Tyler on one side and Terrence on the other. That is just a scary thought to think about. So, look, they're winners. Josh Ball, Matt Fournette, Waletzko, Edoga. They're winners, but they got a lot of pressure on them. And Mike Solari, I think, is going to put a lot of pressure on them. And, you know, I don't think that we should just blow past what Will McClay said about, hey, we got a new offensive line coach. I think he's shown a lot of confidence in Mike Solari in getting the best out of some of these guys and or bringing a run scheme that mitigates a lot of these dudes' weaknesses. So maybe the number one, voice is all crazy. Maybe the number one schematic thing I'm looking for down there really doesn't revolve the West Coast offense pass system. Because look, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, you've got established dudes. You've got the dudes to make whatever the hell you want to do from a passing standpoint work. But what about the rushing attack? I want to know if what's the plan for the rushing attack? Schematically, how are we going to operate? So that's the more intriguing X's and O's thing I'm looking forward to down there. But these are your O-line winners, I think, coming out of the draft. Let's see here. Let's get into the chat. Professor O says Udoja looks solid in the one game he played for the Falcons, and unfortunately, the game he got hurt. But he says, I'm not betting on him, though. I wonder if they are. Tony from Tampa. What's goody, man?
Hello?
Yes, sir. You live.
Hey, yo, what else, guys? Good morning, man.
Good morning.
Good morning, man. Hey, I think this new offense right here, man, I don't think Dak could be holding that ball too long. Trying to wait for the play to develop like when Kellen Moore was in there, man. I think it'll help this offensive line out pretty good, man. I think, the only thing is the depth, they really do need to prove themselves this year. Like Josh Ball, he need to get on the ball, man.
Yeah.
A lot of these players like J. Lou and all of them, man, they need to, the Jason Garrett mentality is gone, man. Ain't no more sitting there and waiting, and waiting 3-4 years for you to not do nothing, man. Now is the time for them guys to step up, man. I think they do sense the urgency, especially Tyron Smith, man. Like, he know they ain't playing with him no more, man. He know that they ain't playing, and
who Tyron?
It's a new day, man. It's a new attitude. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, because with them, I thought they was gonna get rid of him, but they kept him and they gave him a deal. They restructured his deal or whatever, but they restructured it in a way that they know, hey, he might go down for such and such games or whatever, and they setting themselves up to move on from him. So I think they know that. I think he know that. I think it's gonna be some stepping up this year, man. With this new offense, Dak gonna get rid of it quick. I like the mentality going on. And as far as the draft picks, man, look, these people get in the room with a Brandon Cooks, a Gilmore. They get in the room with a Michael Parsons, and man, them boys gonna eat, man. You seen the highlights on these kids, man?
I watched the film, not just the highlights. Not just the highlights.
I got faith. Yeah, I seen the highlights. I ain't got time to watch no.
I know, but if I do just highlights, man, I'm putting everybody in the Pro Bowl. Everybody. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, that boy Vaughn, man, when he broke that dude ankles like twice, man, I was like, oh my God. Oh, Deuce.
This dude, if they know how to use him, man, he is tough. And that boy from Texas, man, he is a missile, man. That's all I see is him. Him and Wilson back there hitting. Man, they set the tone quick, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited about this year, man. That's all I got, man. I'm excited, man.
My man.
I'm through the roof right now, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So, hey, I had to contribute to the #1 Cowboys show in the country, man.
My God. Hey,
and,
it sounds like you on the road.
Day, man.
It sounds like you on the road?
Yeah, I'm down.
Right, man.
Yeah, I'm down here in Pompano Beach, man. I'm down here by Reva Motorsports where XX got killed at, man.
Ooh. Well, look, bro.
So,
be safe out there. Drive safe. Get back home and safe travels, man.
All right, you too, man.
Salute. Kind of want to go back a couple other callers where he brought up Tolbert. And I want to bring up this tweet from my guy, Pat Walker, which it came from Will McClay. It says, Will McClay on Cowboys outlook at wide receiver as they ramp up to training camp. We talked about the maturation process of players like Simi Fehoko and Jalen Tolbert. We're looking for those guys to step up. Again, confidence in them, but putting the pressure on them to step up. We've got to speed up that curve, but we feel good. Look, I haven't even heard him say that, but you can just feel the sense of urgency in Will McClay's voice. I got a feeling if Will McClay was the coach here, man, he'd be on him. I'm gonna just say that. He'd be on a couple of these guys. But he says we've got to speed up that curve, but we feel good. Again, winners, but there's pressure. I like that. I'm gonna give you this confidence. I got confidence in you to step up, but you better step up. Jalen Tolbert and Simi Fehoko are definitely winners following this draft. They didn't take a receiver to the 7th round, yo. Tolbert was your 2022 third-round pick. He only played 89 snaps last year. 2 receptions. I think both of them came in garbage time. Was inactive a handful of times. Constantly going out to the streets to find a receiver, in the trade market to find a receiver. And then it came out after the season that Jalen Tolbert himself said, I wasn't ready. I was trying to learn and play at the same time, and it didn't work out, but I'll be more confident moving forward. Like Tolbert, Simi Fehoko, and Tolbert, I think both of those guys will benefit from Mike McCarthy being the offensive play caller, will benefit from a more of a West Coast system. Now, Simi might have a little bit more pressure because he's a 2021 fifth-round pick, so he doesn't have the pedigree as Tolbert, and he's a year removed or 2 years removed from being picked. And we've seen them cut guys in this round. In fact, the fifth round, aside from Deron Bland, has been atrocious over the last half decade or so. So they'll cut you if he doesn't get it together. Now, the thing about Simi Fehoko, though, I thought he got an unfair. He got a raw deal. Simi was one of the better receivers, not named not named CD Lamb, down there at training camp last year. Preseason, didn't get a shot. The quarterbacks really couldn't get them the ball. It's really hard to judge these receivers when you got, backup quarterbacks plus backup offensive linemen throwing the ball. Those two things combined aren't great for these receivers trying to make a name for themselves. But Simi almost every day felt like he was making big plays, and he was getting more consistent as the training camp went on. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the prototype that Mike McCarthy likes. Tolbert's got the draft pedigree, so he's going to get his shot. But them not drafting a receiver to the 7th round makes these guys a huge winner coming out of the draft, because we kept thinking, hey, man, they've shown interest in Johnston. They've shown interest in a lot of these wide receivers, 7 of them. 7 wide receivers were brought in, but they didn't take one to the 7th round. And then when Will McClay says, we talked about the maturation process of players like Simi and Jalen, we're looking for those guys to step up. It's a vote of confidence. Pressure, but confidence. I like it. This is interesting, Beast Mode. He says, I need Dak to get reps in the preseason. Just one series will not hurt. I was battling that last year. I didn't know how to feel about that last year. But he probably should have, because of the drastic change at wide receiver. I wonder if McCarthy does that or not. It seems like they probably won't. It's way too early to talk about that, but nonetheless. Double R says, well, if nothing else, bring back T.Y. Hilton for a 1-year deal. A lot of people are in favor of potentially bringing in a wide receiver. And I think tomorrow, if I don't get back to the rating series, we'll talk about potential positions to bring in. Receiver may be up there for some. Milton Green says, I feel better about Tolbert. I feel Tolbert will have a better season because he doesn't have to think as much and he can play. I think that also having the West Coast style of offense, a route tree, and this whole option route thing won't be out there. Again, I say this a lot, but talking to Will Grier, talking to Jalen Tolbert, these things were hard to pick up for guys who are new-ish to the team. Grier was on the team a little bit, but he was newer in the grand scheme of things. And Jalen Tolbert was a wide-eyed rookie out of South Alabama. And it was hard for him to crack this roster or to get it together when he had every opportunity to. James Washington went down. Michael Gallup wasn't in there. You had CD Lamb and a guy who was a wide receiver 5 for his career. And Tolbert couldn't quite crack it. So that just tells you how hard it was for Jalen Tolbert last year. Let's get my guy DJ on the horn. What's good, DJ?
Hey, good morning, Scott. How you doing this morning, sir?
Oh, man, I'm doing fantastic.
Good. Hey, what you were talking about, the reason I called in was mainly because, these guys, it feels like we have depth pretty much everywhere outside of, maybe tight end, especially interior O-line. And I really like the move. It just feels like they kind of roster filling right now.
Real quick, you don't like the depth at tight end?
Well, it's not that I don't like it, right? It's just for instance, we had Hendershot and Ferguson, and then, of course, McKeon, however you say that.
And Schoonmaker.
But, yeah. Schoonmaker now.
Yeah,
right? I was thinking pre-draft, going into the offseason.
Okay, my bad. I thought you meant at this moment. I'm like, you got pretty decent depth at tight end. But go ahead.
And so, like, going into this offseason, I mean, they've done a real good job. And just comparison to last season where it felt like they didn't really do anything. We've been talking about it ever since they started doing moves. And it's really like they're addressing everything and getting a depth at those positions that we feel them need. Maybe not the exact way that we would like them to do it, but they're doing it nonetheless. And I think these guys that they're picking up, a lot of these rookies and these later round guys outside of like Deuce Vaughn or somebody like that. I mean, really, it's going to come down to whether they can even make the team or not, because the depth and the skill level of the team as a whole was already pretty good all the way around. Yeah. So, I mean, if these guys come in and show out, hey, all the better, because they're getting tested through the fire and all that kind of stuff, and the best will become the rise to the top. So, I think all the way around, I really like the fact that they're going to this level with the UDFAs, with what they did in the draft, and of course what they did with the trade before.
Indeed, DJ, and we want it to be tough for late round picks and undrafted free agents to make this team. That means you got a good team, in my opinion.
Exactly. Even all the way down to the Tolberts of the world, the Fajokos, things like that. McEwen, as much as we've liked him, he's not just going to have a guaranteed spot this year. His seat I wouldn't say his seat's on fire, but it's warming up a little bit for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the show, but I think I included McEwen, Lipke, and Princeton Fant as guys competing potentially for that fourth tight end / H-back role. Like McEwen he's in competition right now.
Yeah. For sure. But, I mean, that's all I got, brother. I'll let you get back to it. Keep this flowing and efficient and everything. But I appreciate you taking my call like always, brother.
My God, appreciate you, DJ. So we talked about a bunch of the winners. What about the losers, though? What about the players where we talked about Barry Church and McClay were sitting in that room during the Mark Barron and Mo Claiborne draft, hoping they don't take Mark Barron. They didn't take Mark Barron, and they were excited. But those cornerbacks, when they took Mo Claiborne, were probably feeling the heat. Who's feeling the heat now? All right, we talked about guys feeling the heat prior to the draft, and some of those players are not on this list anymore. But these guys, to me, are quote unquote the losers following the NFL draft right now. Now, loser does not mean these guys are going to get kicked off the team. Loser just means they've drafted players at this position that put them in a very tough situation, meaning the actual players here. And these players are going to have to show them something. Now, there is pedigree that could keep some of these guys around. There's also a chance that these coaches don't give a damn about that because they're trying to win. There's no player that has more heat put on them right now probably than Neville Gallimore. The Cowboys drafted, obviously, Mazi Smith. And a lot of people would say, oh, Mazi's a nose, sure. But we just did a whole show yesterday where the Cowboys coaches, Will McClay, Mazi Smith himself, Stephen Jones, the front office, all said, we're not pigeonholing him as a nose tackle. He's going to do multiple things for us. Not to mention, they get Junior Fehoko in the 4th round, who the position coach came out and said, hey, man, we foresee him sliding into 3-tech at some point. They're going to give him a shot to play on the outside, see how that works out, and they're looking to move him inside. Neville Gallimore could be this year's Tristan Hill. Where Tristan Hill was the same way, where, hey, man, they're drafting these defensive linemen. You know, you got a lot of heat on you. They're signing these guys. Hankins is back, by the way. You could throw him in there. Neville Gallimore right now has a very, very big hill to climb, I think, to make this, not only just make the rotation, you know, make the team. Because Dan Quinn covets versatility up there, covets it. And if you aren't a versatile guy, then damn it, you got to be good. This is what you got to do. You got to be trash can full of dirt. You got to be run guy. You got to be pass rush guy. Real quick, y'all. The hell Neville Gallimore, like if you had to say this is what Neville Gallimore does, what does he do? There's nothing right now because they trying to bounce him around. He came in to kind of be a bulldozer. And he showed that flash, but then, you know, he tried to put on some weight to be more versatile against the run. Didn't work out for him last year. So I think he might have lost a little bit of that quickness that he had coming out of Oklahoma. So Neville Gallimore, big hill to climb. I think he's a loser coming out of this draft. Jabril Cox is another one that I think is a loser coming out of this draft. 2021 fourth round pick has only played or has only been active in 16 games. Now, obviously, he got hurt his rookie year towards ACL. Didn't really come back fully until, you know, towards the end of training camp down there in Oxnard, and he played in maybe 1 or 2 preseason games. Jabril Cox, they drafted Overshown, and Overshown has the draft pedigree. He's probably a better athlete. I don't know the numbers exactly, but Jabril Cox was a good athlete coming out, but Overshown is a more explosive athlete on tape. Dan Quinn and those dudes sounds like they love the possibility, the thought of what they can do with an Overshown. Plus, while Jabril Cox may be a cover guy, I think Overshown, they're looking, and he even said this, they're looking at him as a versatile guy that can do the opposite and affect the quarterback as opposed to the receiver or tight end or running back. Now, we've seen him drop back and cover in college and make plays like that. But, you know, Overshown did come out and say, hey, man, look, they like the thought of me coming downhill and getting after the quarterback in instances as well. So when you draft a guy like that in the 3rd round, Jabril Cox continues to kind of get knocked down in that depth chart. Now, obviously, they got to get out there, and Overshown has got to prove it. You know, this would be year 3 for Jabril Cox. I actually got a chance to speak to him down there. If you want to see the video, just type in Jabril Cox on our page, and you can hear him talk about how the mental aspect of the game was something that was a big deal for him too. And it all actually made sense when you look at last year, how, I don't know if this was a Dan Quinn thing. I don't know if this was a George Edwards thing, but they brought in Anthony Barr and played him a lot because I think they trusted him and LVE as the veterans to be where they needed to be. Maybe, just maybe this year with the defensive tackles in the front, 4 or 5, depending what they do, how they come out, or 3, having a different assignment, different responsibilities to free up these linebackers. Maybe that will allow all of these athletic linebackers, because they are ridiculous athletes at the end of the day. The Jabril Cox, Devin Harper, Overshown, Clark are athletes. And if they can be free and just run free without thinking so much, maybe that'll allow them to play better. Maybe that'll increase Jabril Cox's confidence, etc., on the field. Again, not saying Jabril Cox is going to be off the team, but they drafted Overshown. I do think that's in direct competition with him, because you'll have Clark, you'll have LVE, but you're going to need that 3rd guy to spell those 2 or potential injury who can come in. Jabril Cox, his seat is on fire a little bit for playing time, not necessarily for a roster spot. And then there's Kelvin Joseph, another 2021 2nd-round pick. Interesting, all defensive players here, but we could include many other players, but I'll leave that up to y'all after we're done here. Kelvin Joseph, 2nd-round pick in 2021. We understand the off-field thing, but I'm going to stick to on-field right now. And on-field wasn't good last year. You know, 4 touchdowns and 104 coverage snaps and 2 penalties. Could have got beat worse had teams went that way on film. Where his saving grace may be is special teams coming into the draft. However, they drafted Eric Scott Jr. explosive athlete, physical corner. Some of the things we were saying about Kelvin Joseph. Athlete, physical corner, not afraid to come up and hit, can play special teams. Eric Scott can do all that. And if you want to see how excited they were to trade up, by the way, they traded a future pick for this man. So unless he completely bombs, y'all know how I feel about, the Cowboys and their draft picks. 9 times out of 10, if you are drafted, you're making the team. It's just a matter of how you're going to make the team. Are you going to make the team as a reserve player, as an inactive player, as a, hey, man, your ankle hurt, right? But they making the team. They traded up for Eric Scott. Kelvin Joseph was benched for dudes on the street, for Nashawn Wright. So his saving grace is pedigree because he was drafted in the second round, and special teams. But his seat is extremely hot. He finished the season, a season that had Rhodes and Mullins and Nashawn Wright. He finished the season quarterback 7. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people want to say, well, Scott, I'm not saying don't give him a chance. I want him to go out there and compete. Yeah, go earn it. Don't cut him now. I ain't saying cut him now. You need 90 players to go down there anyway in camp. So, yeah, let Kelvin Joseph go compete. But I'm not just about to sit here and overlook that he finished the season cornerback 12. Can't do it. Won't do it. Won't do it. So his seat's hot, man. They're excited to get Eric Scott. I think he's going to come in here and push all these bottom of the roster corners. You can include Nashawn Wright in here if you want. Got a problem with that. But Kelvin, Nashawn, and whoever else is at the bottom of the roster at cornerback, they're losers. I'm not calling them personally losers because y'all know Skywalker still call it Kelvin. Nah. They're losers following the draft. Social media. All right, man. Those are my loser lists. Jabril Cox, Kelvin Joseph, and Neville Gallimore. Who would you add to your winners and losers list, Cowboys Nation? Who would you add? King Element said he getting cut. Talking about Kelvin Joseph. Winners and losers. They don't got to be, big name or little names. It could be big names, Like you could say Michael Gallup, for instance. You can say he's a winner because they didn't take, an XY receiver early in the draft. That's cool. Would you consider Malik Davis a winner or loser, Trey G? Because where I had him? I actually had him on a list and I took him off just because the room isn't crazy. There's 2 guys. I'll give you my names. There's 2 guys I was contemplating putting on a loser list. Turpin and Malik Davis. All because of one dude that was drafted. Deuce Vaughn. I guess you could add Lipke if you want, but Deuce Vaughn is going to push one of those dudes. I don't know if they're going to push him off the roster, but they may push him in the depth chart. So I was a little bit torn on it, but I just kept thinking, I don't know, man. I feel like Malik Davis is still in prime position to make this roster because they didn't do a whole lot at the position. They got Deuce, and I think Deuce is going to make the team. And I like Rojo. Y'all know I do like Rojo, but they could go with 4 if they don't go with the fullback. Rojo's not guaranteed to make the team either, so I just decided to keep him off. Turpin, I thought about putting him on because, again, Deuce Vaughn could challenge for a kick return, punt return situation. But then I said, let me go look in this wide receiver room. Once you get past, Tober, because I think Tober's slotted. Like, Tober's not going nowhere. 3rd round pick. He's not getting cut. So you got those 4. After that, if they decide to carry 6, it's not like there's a whole lot of competition there. We're going to talk about other receivers that were brought in here via the end of the draft and undrafted free agency list, but the room wasn't so thick that I couldn't see Turpin being, and I say Turbo, I meant Turpin being on the team. And I know we had fun with it the other day, right? But I just got to wait and see a little bit more. So those are the 2 guys I was contemplating putting on, but I eventually took them off. And that's where I'm seeing right now. Turpin. A lot of guys have Turpin as losers. I thought about it, so that's fair. The Guru says Ball and Wright. So I do have Ball, the Guru, as a winner, though. I'm not sure if you have Ball as a loser. If you missed the beginning of our topic, my explanation for Josh Ball and this whole group being a winner is because they did not draft a plug-and-play guard. And Will McClay, if you missed the audio, talked about how they're going to be counting on these guys, so they're going to give them the opportunity. That's why I called him a winner. But he's a winner with a ton of pressure. A winner with a ton of pressure. Let me roll up here and see any more. Chauncey, I think Chauncey's safe. I think, and maybe it's because I liked his tape when he got a shot a bunch last year, but I think Chauncey's safe. I would put Chauncey above Neville. You know, I'd put Chauncey Golston above Neville Gallimore. Seriously. Y'all know how we feel about Pro Bowl. The Guru said Turpin is a Pro Bowl returner. Why would his roster spot be in jeopardy? I mean, I didn't put him on a losers list. But we believe that Deuce Vaughn can be a good returner, if not better. Like, I'm not trying to shit on Turpin as a returner because he flipped the field for us a good amount of times. But boy, you would think he scored a bunch of touchdowns. I asked somebody to do this for me the other day or the other month. I said, when was the last time an all-pro returner made an all-pro team and didn't return a single touchdown? I was genuinely curious. Like, I'm not trying to come at him, but he didn't return. He didn't even get close. Has he returned anything inside the 15, inside the 20, inside the 10? You know, he didn't even get close. I mean, flip field position. We get to the 40, the 50, 35. I mean, I ain't going to knock him on that. But I don't remember the last time an all-pro returner didn't score a touchdown. So when I look at Deuce Vaughn as potentially battling for his spot, it's because he has better vision in the open field. I don't even think that can be debated. You couldn't possibly watch Kevontae Turpin last year and be like, man, that dude's vision's crazy. Nah, man. So that's the only reason why I think a lot of fans and myself think there could be some competition for that spot. If I was just like straight up returner, I would put him on the list. But I'm looking at it. Can Turpin get in that wide receiver room? They talked about how he talked to the team, and Turpin was trying to advocate for more responsibility on the offensive side of the ball, and apparently they might give it to him. So I look at the receiver room and I'm like, it's not so thick that I can't see him being on the team. But if you're just talking strictly returner, let's see what happens, because Deuce Vaughn he got better vision than that dude. He might not be as fast as that dude, but he's just quick. He got the quickness. That'd be a legitimate competition. Let's get back to these phone lines. Deshaun, what's good, man? Deshaun going once? Deshaun going twice? So, all right, we got him more. You was about to get sold, bro. Yeah. What's good, brother?
What's good? So me personally, I think the losers are, like you said, Gallimore, and because I think he's gonna get pushed because he really hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Me, I think overshot. Yeah. I think Jabril Cox is too. So I think overshadow. He's kind of there for we have a lot of mobile QBs in the NFC and throughout, like the Jalen Hurts, the Daniel Jones. I think he's more of that person.
Sam Howell, move around too.
Yeah, and so he's like that white Michael Vick. So I just think, I like the competition.
Don't do that.
I like that there's a lot of depth to it. I wanted depth. I didn't want the flashing in. I wanted guys to come in here and push guys out. Because me personally, I know the draft didn't go how people wanted to go, but I was more impressed that we actually stick to the physicalness. Like, everybody wanted flashiness, and I'd rather stick to physical because most teams in the NFL, especially in the NFC, are physical teams that wants to wear you down and wear you out. Now, not gonna lie, I did not like that we sit up here, got a tight end in second. I really wanted me a guard because I really wanted to just get everything just kind of in place and like everything, all the groundwork's covered up, because I don't like that he was saying that he wanted to rely on the young guys and rely on them to develop. Well, what if the young guys don't develop? What if the young guys don't come out and give you the expectation that you're looking for? Now we're in a hole, stuck in trying to cover up a gap that we should have covered up in the draft.
Yeah, I think a lot of us wanted a guard in the second round, man. But at least Will McClay gave us his opinion on it, and that's not opinion, but his process, his thought process on it, and that's kind of where we're at. Can't cry over spilt milk now. Now we got to figure out who's going to win that spot.
That's true. And then I guess my final thing is, me personally, I think Duke Vaughn will probably push out Malik Davis and a lot of other people. Actually, he might actually get to RB2, because Jones is nice, but I don't think Jones is going to give you kind of what Duke will give you. And only I say that is because, like, I'm not gonna lie, these people are hungry. They're hungry for a position. When you got rookies coming in, they're hungry to take spots and take names.
If you're talking about hunger, who's hungrier than Ronald Jones? Ronald Jones was pissed off. Coming out of Kansas City, he didn't get a chance to play. And if you listen to when he was down there, he wanted to get a shot to prove himself, and he's about to get that shot. So I don't think there's nobody gonna be hungrier than Ronald Jones, and I don't think Deuce can push both of those guys off. Maybe one or the other, but not both. They're going to carry 3 or 4 backs.
True. Like I said, we'll see though. Like I told you, hungry. You can be as hungry as you want to, but if there's no there's no production, then you can be as hungry as you need to.
But you're going against what you just said. You just said these rookies is coming in hungry.
I know, but I'm saying, like, I think
that's the only reason why I brought that up.
The rookies are hungry just as much as the vet are. Like, everybody wants to prove themselves. You got to look at it that way.
Sure, I'm just saying don't overlook a guy like Ronald Jones, who's just as, if not more, hungry. Because those rookies got 4-year contracts. Ronald Jones got a 1-year minimum deal. That if he don't show out, that could be enough. That could be it for him. So I'm just saying, yes, hunger matters for the rookies, but it also matters for the veteran as well. That's all I'm saying.
All right. And then last thing, I'm glad you went to Monday Night Raw. I went too. I was in the suites. I wish I could have seen you out there, but hey, it is what it is.
You was where?
The Monday Night Raw. I was in the suite. I was in the suite section.
I didn't even know they had suite sections at Dickies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we was what 120? Kind of right in the middle on the TV side. So there was a production side, and then there's a TV shot. We was at the TV shot in the middle, man. Good seats. The Dickies Arena is a perfect arena, man. You can sit anywhere that's not at the very, very tippy top, and you got great seats, man.
All right, then. Thanks, guys.
Salute. Just looked over here. Clebo said people sleeping on Rojo. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Ronald Jones. I maybe, and I'm trying to get rid of my biases because I like Ronald Jones. Like I think he can actually be your power back on this team. But I also have to understand that we got to get to camp and we got to see it. I just saw him do it though for a Super Bowl winning team, And it's not like, man, this dude's a hurt guy. This dude's a dude with a bunch of carries. He's a unique acquisition, especially at the running back. This isn't who do we get? Alfred Morris, right? Alfred, and he could play Alfred Morris actually for this team. But we got Alfred Morris. Alfred Morris was kind of a plotter of a back, very smart back, but he had a ton of carries on his body, and you knew he wasn't going to be around too much longer. Rojo's young. Rojo essentially had a whole year off to chill and get pissed. So, when we get to camp, I feel like he's going to truck somebody. And then next thing you know, bing, 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 bing. We're going to see it all on Twitter. We're going to see it all on Facebook, YouTube, wherever. And now we're going to get familiar with Ronald Jones. But Ronald Jones is no slouch when it comes to running that ball. And I think it's because he's a 1-year deal. He's just a running back. He's not a big name. I get it. I'm just saying, let's see when them pads come on, though. Let's see when them pads come on. See who want to tackle Ronald Jones. That's all. Henry, what's good, man?
What's up, Scott? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm all right. I feel like this, okay? Number one, Dallas has some players out of position. Jabril Cox is not a linebacker. He's a safety. That's one.
Okay.
I feel like Sam Williams will be more productive at right outside linebacker. And I think we should, if Gallimore can't really make the roster like we need to, I think he should be moved to offensive line. That's another thing. I like
Wait.
leftover food. So.
Wait. I don't think I heard that right. Can you repeat that last thing?
Yes. If Dallas does not utilize Gallimore on defensive line, he needs to be moved to offensive line and see what he can do. Because he has that dog in him. He can move people around. Especially when you pull people. If you pull him on the line, I think he'll be even more fired, more productive.
I have nothing. For. Yeah, keep going.
But that's one of the things. Another thing, I'm disappointed in the draft. I felt like it was a C-. I'm more happy about the acquisitions they made with the undrafted. I like that better than the actual draft. I only like about 3 players in the draft, but that's just me. That's the kid from North Carolina. Let's see, the defensive tackle and the kid from Texas. Those are the 3 that I do like. But I felt like we should have really went out and tried to get a kicker or something, just little stuff here and there. Maybe a quarterback. Maybe that's just me. But you never know. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think they're good at backup quarterback. If they were looking to get a quarterback to develop for the future, then maybe. But they signed Cooper Rush to a 2-year deal. Cooper's 5-1 as a starter. I think the Cowboys probably got one of the better quarterback situations in the league. They got a qualified franchise quarterback, and they got a backup that they figured out how to win with.
I mean, but aren't they learning a new offense?
In a way, 30%. That's what Mike McCarthy said. I mean, the offense is probably going to actually aid the quarterbacks, not hurt the quarterbacks.
Okay. We're going to see. We're going to see.
Yeah, that's one thing we will do is see, for sure.
But, yeah, that's all I pretty much have, man. The Dallas just needs to change up some players. Some players might be stronger at certain positions and work with it.
Yeah,
another thing.
I don't know about that switching your defensive tackle to offensive line, though.
I believe in it. I mean, we've seen it before, in Dallas. So, I mean, we saw it with who? What was it, Nate Newton?
Yeah, we've
so,
seen
it.
Brother,
it can happen.
Yeah. Anything is possible. Yeah.
One more thing. Please, everybody. Please give note to Bland and McCwamu. That's all I'm asking. Give them the respect. That's all I'm asking, man.
Oh, who's disrespecting Bland and McCwamu now?
It's just I'm hearing some people how they're talking about the cornerback position stuff. It annoys me. I hear national media they constantly don't mention their names. They act like they're just some chumps, man. Okay. It really bothers me. It's like, for instance, okay, Forbes got drafted by Washington, right? Bland, McCwamu, and Forbes are the same player. I'm sorry, that's the way I feel about it. So
what's Forbes got to do with this?
No, I'm just saying, that's technically the same player. That they're all the same player, in my opinion. So they're just as good. So I think the national media just needs to give them that respect a little bit.
Well, I'm here to tell you right now, the national media don't even know who Deron Bland and Israel McCwamu is, brother.
How can you not know who Deron Bland is if he had 5 picks last year?
Because they don't care about the cornerback 3 in Dallas. They're going to see Trayvon Diggs, and they traded for Stephon Gilmore. The national media don't care about the Cowboys' 5th-round pick. They don't care. So
but Bland and McCwamu have more play, though.
And so I wouldn't even seek out validation from the national media when it comes to the Cowboys. That's where we go wrong as fans.
All right. But, yeah, Dallas should have a top 5 defense next year, so as long as everybody stays healthy. Easily. And here's another thing. One more thing. Dallas' defense was better than Philadelphia's last year. We just had injuries. That was it.
I agree.
If Lewis wouldn't have went down, come on, that defense would have been having the most sacks in the league.
And I hate to say that if it were 5th with injuries and whatnot, I hate to be that guy, but I do think if the Cowboys stay healthy last year, the defense would have been better. They were better in certain aspects in general, but they could say the same thing. So I don't want to do that. But I'm going to say this right now. I think the Cowboys will have a better defense this year. And that's with Jalen Carter. That's with, Nolan Smith, all that. Yep. I think the Cowboys are going to have better defense.
All right, guys. That's it for me, man.
Yeah. Salute, man.
All right.
Look, I totally get that you can switch positions, and it has happened before. We've talked about it here. Hell, they just did it with what's his name, Isaac Aracon. Isaac Aracon is a Mexican football player that didn't know the game of American football well and just couldn't quite get the offense things down. Neville Gallimore been playing defensive line his whole entire life. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That was interesting. You know, we get a lot of interesting takes here, but that was one of the interesting. Neville Gallimore to offensive line. Okay. Let me lock these up so we can keep it moving here. We got 4. I'll let a couple more sneak in here. I'm gonna switch this thing up. I'm gonna go Marv. I got Brandon from Funky Football. I'm gonna finish with Kobe from Tennessee. So Kobe from Tennessee, hold tight. And I got 646 in the middle of all this. So let's talk to Marv real quick. What's good, Marv?
What's up, Steve? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. What you got for us? Real quick.
Oh man, I love the draft. You know me. I'm very
Sully, let's be nice. Let's be nice.
Yeah.
You ain't wrong.
Oh, you know that.
We ain't gotta say it. Oh, go ahead, Marv. What you got for us today?
Well, you know, everybody was I was being my people mad because of the second pick. That's why. Now if they'd have put the guard, every Cowboy fan on here like, oh man, we got an A+.
This is why I don't do grades, Marv. Because you know what? Somebody said something I was reading on Twitter. It was like the Lions general manager or something. And man, he nailed it. He basically said what I was saying about Danny yesterday. You know, you have this thought process of who you want to take and where you want to take them, but you actually have the least amount of information on these guys. So when the team picks the guys that you don't have or want, automatically when you're starting to grade or you're starting to judge the draft in totality, it's like, man, you still have that emotion in you, right? You still have that anger and that emotion in you, and that may reflect your grade or may reflect your outlook on the offseason or what have you. And it was an interesting take. Now, you know, look, man, we know sometimes teams just are terrible at this drafting situation. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up with the Cowboys is because they're one of the teams that are not terrible at it. So,
thank you. They gave him a C. They gave him a C to the Cowboy fan. They gave him a C+ for taking Gibbs in the first round.
And then Campbell in the top 20. Yeah. And that's why he said
Gibbs, they didn't have back, and they gave him a C.
Yeah, that's why he said what he said, because they passed on Carter and they passed on Wilson, and I think he wanted to defend his process.
Yeah, and they traded away the halfback to Philly. So all the people got mad, but the Cowboys did good because he got 2 starters. Let me tell y'all again. I still know what I'm about to say. Number 58 is starting at the 3-tech guys. Stop saying he's gonna play 1.
Let's go, Marv. Let's go, Marv.
He's playing the 3-tech. Now you got a big, powerful 330 3-tech with long arms that's gonna be bull rushing. I already told you. Y'all don't be listening, man. The guy gonna be killing the guard. So then I'm gonna make them who you gonna take? You try to play Hankins 1-on-1, he's gonna bull rush it. Now you gotta pick your parts. That leaves your DNs wide open to kill. And I don't know what y'all talking about. Some Smith. Smith has 6 sacks and barely played, guys. Do you hear what I just said?
Smith
has 6 sacks.
Oh, Nolan. Don't do that. Don't do that.
That's, you know what I'm saying?
Nolan nice though. Who's your other starter, Marv? Who's your other starter?
Well, the DNs, you have your linebackers, number 11, 33. You forgot about him. If he the neck injury, if the Cowboys would have counted, he'd have been round 2, low round 1.
But who
the linebacker from LSU?
Who's your other?
That's our starter.
I thought you said you had 2 starters out this draft. I was curious on who your other one was.
Oh yeah. The tight end, he's gonna be a starter. He's starting with Ferguson. The 12, he's gonna give you 300 yards. He like Steele said, he's gonna give you 300 yards.
I see.
300 to 400 yards. That's good. And then the other tight ends get to do what they're gonna do. You know, Ferguson's gonna get better. He's gonna be a beast this year. Then you got your boy 86 gonna be a beast. He's way better than Schultz. Schultz. Everybody's telling him He's way better than Schultz. Better block. Schultz last year sometimes was missing his block and people were stopping us. That was pissing the Cowboys off. That's why they didn't bring him back.
So I'm very curious. Somebody asked me this question yesterday, Marv, and they were like, would you rather, have Schultz, like sign Schultz, or take the chance on this cat, Schoonmaker, sorry. And I said, I would rather, and it has nothing really to do with Schoonmaker, I would rather take the chance of the ceiling being reached and being higher with Schoonmaker and Ferguson than bring back Schultz. And that's not a knock on Schultz. Schultz is a fine tight end. If you brought him back, he'd have been a quality guy for you. He was a nuanced route runner as well. He wasn't going to route you up, but he knew where to fit. He knew how to make himself available. He was a secure guy. It is what it is. He, I think, capped out. Schultz is going to be what Schultz is. I'm interested in what Ferguson and Schoonmaker can be, because I think there's a possibility they can exceed whatever Schultz ceiling was or is at this point.
Oh, they're going to win.
So I would take that risk. There are a lot of people who would not take that risk. I would take that risk in the year 2 Ferguson, and then if they really do put Schoonmaker as the tight end 2 and not 1, I'll be a little bit more keeping my eye on the situation. If they say, hey, we're throwing Schoonmaker in there right now, he's our tight end 1, he's going to play 75% of the snaps, he's going to be the guy for 11. That's a lot to ask for a dude who didn't get a chance to be a receiving guy, and the Cowboys use their tight ends there. So we'll talk more about Schoonmaker tomorrow. I think we're going to do it, but anyway.
And it's going to be about 3 halfbacks on the practice squad. That could even be Ronald too, because they signed Zeke back. That means Ronald going to be on the practice squad. And you still need
Rojo.
And you still need Rojo.
Well, they ain't signed Zeke yet. But that changes everything. If Zeke gets signed, the conversation completely changes about what we think the running back room could look like. You could almost eliminate 2 names completely off that list.
Yeah. So they're gonna keep Davis. They impressed. Like you say.
Wait. If they sign Zeke, you think they're keeping Davis?
Oh yeah.
I don't see that.
Yeah.
So
I see that happen.
You think they? So wait. So you think 3 running backs or 4 running backs? If they sign Zeke,
4.
Oh,
4.
Okay, never mind. Then, yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? David is special team, Zeke, but they're gonna keep Ronald. He'll be on the practice squad. They do that for veterans.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. They keep veterans on the practice squad. And the Dallas got so much talent with the guard position. The guard. Now you made a good point. The guard, they're gonna give Ball his chance, and they're gonna give what's that? Wisco, the tackle.
Super chat.
They hurt it. They gotta hurt his shoulder.
Well, let's go.
And he came back. Okay, yeah. They're gonna get their chance, but the guys they just drafted guys, y'all do y'all homework. Them guys are 3-year starters. They very good. Okay. Like we said, you can't draft everybody. And Dallas good on picking free agents. And they're going to have a chance. That guard position is going to be a battle in camp.
In closing.
It's going to be a battle in camp. In closing, the Cowboys are going to do good. The guy that's on the bubble, I keep telling you, is number 2 guys. Lewis. That's the bubble guy. $5 million, just got off an injury. They're going to keep their gunners. I hate to tell you, even though y'all hate it. Even though still hate it. Because they, like you say, still, they invest their money. And number 1, they invest their money. He got 2 more years, this year, next year. If he don't make it, go. That's why they jumped the other guy. They just picked in the 6th round.
I was about to say, what do you think about them drafting up, trading up to get Eric Scott?
Yeah, Eric Scott. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm about to tell you. Yeah. Number 2 and 25 got a ball out. Number 2 ain't gonna be able to come back. 25 got a ball out.
So wait a minute, Marv. Like you're not being fair, man. I'm not gonna go down this road, but you can't just say number 2 and number 25 and not include number 1. That's
number 1 is their gunner. I hate to tell you, brother.
Brother, Eric Scott can be their gunner too.
Well, who's that? Your boy you just got? Texas. He's gonna be on that special team too. They're gonna have one of the best powers. I heard before I get out here.
All I ask is for y'all to be fair.
I'm being honest.
Nah,
He's gonna be great. He got 2 years left.
Just say you biased.
Number one got 2 years left.
What the hell that mean?
25 man. 25
Big Country had 4 years and they cut his ass.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They gave him 4 years though.
All right, Mark.
What you go?
You're not making
God,
no sense.
they just got God. You just put yourself in trouble. Big Country got 4 years. That's
And
what you just said.
And they cut him.
They cut him.
Yeah.
This
You talking about
what
Kelvin
third
Joseph got 2 years. What the hell 2 years got to do with anything? Here's what Kelvin Joseph got going for him. He was a second-round pick, and he played special teams.
Yep.
The problem
There you go.
is
That's what he
Eric
got
Scott's
going for.
probably going to come in here and play special teams as well. But Kelvin Joseph finished the damn season as cornerback number 12, and I don't know how I can look past that, bro. I just can't do it. He
I
got
know,
to step
but we're
up.
gonna see in the camp. That's why they got camp. Like you say, everybody's on the bubble. Even the D tackle number 96 got to get off his butt and make some plays. He's on the bubble, and there's a lot of people on the bubble.
It is, man.
And you know what? And I'm glad. Before I get off here, I'm glad they're doing that. Now they're doing it. They doing it the Jimmy Johnson way. If your ass ain't playing right, you getting out of here.
Indeed.
About time. So I agree with you. Amen. No favoritism.
Marv Carper Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
So,
My big 58 at nose tackle. He is your new three tech that's going to get about 4 or 5 sacks and destroy the guard. Thank you. Salute.
I know Marv. Can just imagine. Look, I'm going to have a real life story about Marv when we get down to camp. Because I got all these possibilities of what Marv is like, but I'm going to have a real life story for y'all whenever we come back, man. Marv Kuiper Jr., ladies and gentlemen. Let's finish off these calls here. What I say? Brandon from Frankly Football, 646, then Kobe. What's good, B?
What's going on, Scott? How you doing, man? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, man. What's up?
All right, perfect. So I was hearing one thing that you said earlier about Malik Davis not necessarily being on the bubble. And,
I was teetering.
Frankly, I disagree.
No. I was teetering.
Disagree.
No. Listen to me. He was on my list.
Mm-hmm.
He was the name that I took off because I didn't think the room was that big. But I said it's fair if you want to put him on there because Deuce Vaughn, Rojo, TP could easily be the 3 you carry. So I'm not going to argue with you. Malik Davis, you want to put his name as a potential loser coming out the draft. Hey, look, dog, won't see me complain about it. So let's just start off there.
Let me explain. I think that he doesn't have a niche because the team picked up Ronald Jones. They drafted Deuce Vaughn, and Hunter Lefke is an undrafted free agency. So you have 3 guys that do 3 unique things, right? What is Malik Davis's niche that one of those guys does not feel to be more experienced, younger, or cheaper, right?
I mean, he's a better runner than Hunter Lipke, but Hunter Lipke is a fullback.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know that I can include Hunter Lipke into the running back room. So I won't do that. But Hunter Lipke, I would put him in the Sean McEwen and Princeton Fant competition.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you need a power / short yardage guy, why wouldn't?
Because I got that in Rojo.
Isn't that even better? So I mean, isn't that kind of Malik's role in a rotation? You know.
I mean, Malik's just a good overall back. You know, like he's definitely going to not just lay down. Like anytime Malik Davis got a chance to show off his skills, Malik Davis showed off the pop, his vision at the second level, and in this he did this in real life NFL games. So, you know, I don't think we can just discount him because of the potential of a fullback with shoulder injury out of North Dakota State. I don't think we could just discount him, you know, because of the 1-year running back that they signed. I like Ronald Jones. So listen, Malik Davis is definitely, if you want to say bubble, sure, but I don't think it's just a clear cut, oh, well, he doesn't bring nothing to the table, these other guys don't. Like Malik Davis showed you that he give him the ball. I got some pop. I'm physical, I'm tough. He caught the ball at the backfield very well. He averaged 10 yards per pop when he caught the ball at the backfield. So maybe we should probably pop on some Malik Davis tape from last year, and maybe we feel a little bit better about him.
Hey man, we can do this as a show. Talk to me. You can break it down. But another thing that frustrates me, I hate progress stoppers. It frustrates me when Cowboys fans, suddenly want to bring back Zeke Elliott. If you go and get a new set of tires, the tires that the tread is gone, the wires are showing. You don't keep those around and put them back on your wheels. Once your new tires are on your wheels.
Who do you consider a progress stopper?
So Zeke Elliott.
I
think that, yeah. I think that, it's good that the team has now decided to move on in a new direction and look towards the sun. And I think that now the talks of potentially bringing Zeke back is a potential progress stopper. How do you feel about that?
That's a perfect word. I mean, wouldn't it seem like Jason Witten all over again?
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not listen, y'all. I'm not trying to say he's Jason Witten from 2019, but it's a guy who we felt with this version of what they want to do past him, and they brought him back for sentimental value, and he stopped the progress of Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz. We saw the very next year. In fact, we saw a little bit that Dalton Schultz was ready, at that point in time, and he was pissed. Dalton Schultz, was telling some of former teammates that we don't like Jason Witten. Because of what Jason Witten did to that room. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to be the same thing with Zeke, but he could be the definition of progress stopper to Deuce Vaughn, Malik Davis, or what have you.
That's exactly it, and I think that will be counterproductive to the rest of the guys behind him if they decide to go that route.
Yeah, I would move forward. I don't think they need to look back there.
Now, you mentioned that Jabril Cox could be a guy who may lose out on playing time due to Demarion Overshown.
Depth chart. He ain't playing yet. He ain't playing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that could very well be the case because when he's on the field, he's one of those guys that you can always see the wheels turning, right? And maybe the game was always just a little bit too fast for him. This might be, that year for him where it's kind of make or break. And camp is going to be very important for him.
Huge. Yeah, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
It'd be the first camp as a professional. Well, I guess you can call it his rookie year, but, his rookie year is his rookie year. But this will be the first time really he'll be able to not worry about focusing on being a rookie or focusing on rehab and being a little bit behind. So he'll be ahead of schedule more than he's ever been, and it's going to be important for him to make sure that that's seen on the field.
He better worry about Devin Harper as well.
Yeah, Harper. So me and Vosh did a thing where we have Overshown below Clark, but ahead of Harper and Jabril Cox because of the pedigree and how they're going to use him. But I mean, shoot, I could have included Devin Harper in this too, but Devin Harper was a 6th-round pick, so he's always technically on the bubble until he shows something. As a 6th-round pick, but as a 4th-round pick, that sucks that they go out and get a linebacker to basically do what they wanted you to do.
Absolutely. But that lets you know that talent acquisition is 365 days a year, right?
Yep. Well, it is now. It wasn't for a long time in Dallas. It is now.
Absolutely. But that in recent days, you really heard Will McClay sound more and more like a GM. Especially with his 105.3. Interview. He's really been putting on that GM suit and tie, recently, and that's really encouraging.
Will McClay has the utmost trust in these dudes. I wish they would really make him a GM. Probably won't happen until there's a change in ownership. From when I say change, I know what I mean, and I'm not trying to sound dark here, but there could be a world where whenever Steven takes over, maybe he lets him become the actual real GM and not just player personnel guy, draft guy. But that's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely. The last position.
In closing.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you want to finish your thought before I do?
No, I was just saying in closing because I'm going to get to these next 2 callers so we can keep it moving.
Absolutely. I like to be, very structured.
Yes.
Last position that I want to talk about is these wide receivers. Jalen Tolbert and Simi Fehoko. These are 2 guys who, been very slow in their development, and Will McClay, talked about that specifically.
Yes, he did.
While they, were safe from the tidal wave of the draft, they may not be safe from, their slow development. Do you think that there is someone in particular who, may be right behind them or breathing down their neck? Is there someone that you're looking at?
I have them as winners coming out the draft, but very much like I did with the offensive line, they're winners, but there's pressure. Probably more on Simi because Jalen's got the pedigree. He's not getting cut anytime soon. He's going to make this team unless he's just absolutely terrible. But I mean, look, they still have to worry about some of these undrafted guys, the Croppers of the world. I don't know if Turpin's going to get a chance to show off his offensive wide receiver skill set, but if they allow him to, they have to worry about everyone in reality because they haven't really shown that, hey man, put me on this team and put the ball in my hands on a consistent basis. So yeah, they got to worry about everybody behind them coming for him because you know what those dudes are saying? Shit, Jalen Tolbert got 2 receptions year 1. Simi Fehoko ain't get how many receptions in 2 years? Oh, I can get that spot. That's what I would be doing if I was Cropper, if I was Turpin, if I was the cat from South Carolina, if I was Brooks, if I was all these dudes, I'd be saying the same thing. I'm coming for your spot because your spot is not secured in that depth chart.
Okay. Yeah. That hunger should be within everybody. I love to hear it.
Dennis Houston, D. That's another name that's still around, but he's probably in that whole group looking at them dudes too.
I don't know why he here, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I'm not.
Week 1, I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not a major Dennis Houston fan, but we'll see.
Dak love him.
He was there.
Yeah, man, that's all I got.
All right, man. Appreciate the call, B.
That's all I got.
Great, good stuff.
Absolutely,
good stuff.
Bro. We need to do some more official work, bro. But I'm glad to call in.
Get with me, man. Get with me.
No doubt. I'll hit your DM.
Salute. Yeah, look, these dudes might be winners, but when B asked me, who, everybody, everybody looking up at, and they're saying to themselves, why not me? Now, this ain't last year, and they got a Cooks in the building, and they got a healthy Gallup, so those 3 positions are locked down like a vault, baby, locked down. Shout out to Hitch. But after that, oh yeah. Look, man, if Dennis Houston could come out the woodwork and he lines up week 1, I guess anything is possible down there with wide receiver coach Prince. So let's see what happens. And Callaway on the roster too, right? 646, what you got for us?
Hey, what's up? How are you? This is Frank from New York City. How you doing?
Frank
hey,
from
real
NYC.
quick.
Man, you up there in giant territory. What's good?
Yeah, no, I'm in enemy territory out here for sure. Hey, real quick, just wanted to give you your flowers, man. The contact you and Vosh provide is second to none, man.
Man, thank you.
We really appreciate it. Keep doing your thing. Hopefully, I get higher, bigger platforms and that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be quick. First time caller. I'm gonna be really quick. The position that worries me the most is kicker. I know Jerry Jones said that we're looking at veteran help, but I'm still worried. Just because I know our defense is going to be stout. I know in the playoffs, these kicks are going to matter. So my question to you, Mr. Will Steele, is have you heard of any kickers possibly coming in, getting a workout, anything along those lines? Because I'm really nervous about kicker, and Cowboys fans should be too, because we guys remember that debacle that happened in Tampa Bay. Thank God we were winning by so many points. And then in San Francisco, that could have been a game changer because, the thought of not putting 3 up on the board, let's go for it on 4th down instead of kicking a field goal, that changes the game for you.
Change your thought process for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm really worried about the kicking game and just want to hear your thoughts on that and see if you heard anything. And I appreciate you taking the call.
It's Frankie, right?
Yeah.
All right, appreciate the call, Frankie. Hey, look.
No, appreciate it. Well,
Thank you, man. He's absolutely right. The kicker position is something that we should be quote unquote worried about because we don't have that proven guy. Now Jerry Jones did say in his post presser that they're going to sign a veteran dude. Immediately, my mind went straight to Robbie Gould, but that also could mean this year's version of Simi Fehoko. It also could mean this year's version, or Simi Fehoko, because we just were talking about him. This year's version of Brett Maher, or this year's version of Hallelujah. I'm hoping it's Robbie Gould, though. Like, it ain't gonna cost you a lot. Cowboys got cap. They got space. It might cost you a little bit more than you used to paying. I know they like to be penny pinching at the position, but how did penny pinching at the position work for you in camp last year when you signed Garibay and brought in Hallelujah? And those dudes, Garibay couldn't even make a field goal. He was terrible. Hallelujah was efficient, but he couldn't make a kick outside of 40, 45 yards. So they brought in Maher. And you just saw the absolute difference in how that ball came off the field in those two. And I knew it right then and there. Oh, this dude is going to beat him. As long as he don't mess up and miss a whole lot in preseason and training camp, and it's even, if it's even, Maher's leaving. And that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, man, it's a good call, good question, something I want to keep my eyes on as well. Who are these guys? Now, he asked me, are there kickers that they brought in of late? Not that I can remember. I know they had a whole tryout, and they signed, is it Vincent Canto? I can't really say his name, but they have a kicker right now, and he's been kicking around the league, but bringing more competition. Bringing more competition. All right, Kobe from Tennessee. Kobe, what's good, man?
Oh, what's up? What's up, man? How y'all doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Love hearing from you.
Man, I've just been hearing a whole lot of nothing from, ESPN on top of our fans. It's like I feel like I'm in the middle of last year again. We drafted Tyler Smith, and everybody and their mama said, "Oh, that was a stupid pick." His bow legs, and he's not going to be able to block anybody. What did he turn out to be?
Fantastic.
A pretty damn good lineman.
The best lineman in the draft. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, people y'all got to chill, man, and trust the process and give these coaches time to show us what they see in these players. None of us, I mean, there might be a few of us, but none of us are playing in the NFL. None of us are coaching in the NFL. We're covering it. We're fans of it, but none of us know what they know. So I just tell folks, man, just chill, sit back, enjoy the show, and just support your team. I mean, that's all you can do. Getting mad and hating on Philadelphia because everybody and their mama thinks they had the best draft. That don't mean nothing, man. You can have the best draft in the world. You can have the best offense and defense in the world. But that don't mean nothing when you get beat by a one-legged quarterback with TikTok wide receivers. I'm just saying. I hate to be that guy, but it's the truth.
But look, you're not wrong, Cole, because look, last year, a lot of people were griping and groaning about the draft, and we get to training camp and you see some good things from your first round pick. You get to training camp and you see your fifth round pick might be your third best corner on the roster. Talking about Deron Bland. So we just don't know. Maybe we get here and Awesome Sauce Richards showed you something. Maybe we get here, and I'm not saying all these dudes are going to hit. That doesn't happen.
I'm excited for Overshawn.
Look,
I think he reminds me of Donovan Wilson.
And that's
way he is, like, hits that heat-seeking missile and straight to the target. Oh, yeah.
That's exactly
I'm excited
what
to watch him play.
McClay said. And Overshown, so there's two things I think, not two things, multiple things I think is going to happen down there. And I say this every year in regards to a pop. I think Overshown is going to be a guy that's going to get into a fight because he's going to knock somebody out. He's going to hit somebody that they're not supposed to be hitting, in the sense of, hey, man, we're just thudding up here. He's going to run through somebody because he's just so damn violent. Yeah, I can see it happening.
Oh, yeah. 100%. As soon as I saw his highlight tape, I was like, oh, yeah, that's Donovan Wilson right there. 100%. But, yeah, that's all I had to say, man. I ain't going to go crazy into depth or, hype anybody up today, but I'm just saying, y'all chill out. Season ain't even started yet. You know, we got plenty of time, and we got a lot of key pieces added to this team that we needed. You know, obviously, yes, we lost to the Niners again in the playoffs. But let's be real. You know, the offensive scheme was not planned properly. You know, it was all around the running back. And guess what? Zeke Elliott couldn't do anything that Tony Pollard was doing. And, again, that's why he is not on this team. I hate it. I loved Zeke. You know, I remember those first 2-3 years. I remember the first preseason game going against the Legion of Boom and him smashing through Cam Chancellor. And me being like, oh, yeah. Like, I miss it, but it's like at the end of the day, you know, Zeke, it's just age and it's time and it's injuries. He's just not got that same speed anymore, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'd rather it end on this note than him come back and be even worse. But y'all just keep your head up, man. We got nothing but positivity coming our way. Y'all wait and see.
Oh, yeah, man. Appreciate you, Kobe. Good
Yes,
call
sir.
to end the show, man. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think there is a lot more to be excited about in this upcoming season than not. But I get we're fresh off of you know, the draft. So everything is kind of centered around the draft, but I think your team set themselves up very well to be a top team in the NFC. And I looked at, and I don't want to bring this up because y'all know how I feel about national media, but I looked at the whole top NFC teams from Colin Cowherd. I know y'all. Yeah, Seattle above Dallas. You want to say Philly, whatever. You want to say 49ers, which I don't think. I mean, I know they beat us with the backup. I get it. But I would still put us in the top two. But Seattle, well, he got something for Pete Carroll. I don't understand, man. Seattle not better than us. Seattle not better than us. All right, let's get to these super chats. Good. We are, for the most part, kind of caught up here on the super chats.
Super chat.
Glenn dropped one earlier and said, was Fehoko making catches on starters in camp? Yes. Fehoko was very productive in camp. Now, early in camp, I think it was actually mini camp. There was a little bit of the same struggles you saw last year. I talked to Kyle Yeomans. We actually brought him on the show. And he talked about that, meaning he would have some of these mental drops. But once he got down there, there's actually a play. In fact, you'll remember this, Glenn. The play that made, who was it? Trayvon Diggs, and correct me if I'm wrong. Trayvon Diggs shut down his Twitter was Simi Fehoko. I think beating Trayvon Diggs. I think it was Simi Fehoko. But yeah, Simi was a huge playmaker down there. It was Simi and it was Noah, like constantly battling for these big plays that were being made at training camp. And that's why I was like, look, I thought he was your second best receiver at camp. And everyone was saying Noah, and it might have been Noah. Maybe I was being a bit biased. But I thought Simi deserved a bigger shot during the season. So yeah, he was making plays down there against everybody. We Don't Wipe Them 304s dropped one earlier and said
super chat.
You got to be on Marv's call. What did it say? Got that number 3 from Texas, Marvin Overhaul. Hilarious. That was the other year, I think, Drizzy. CD was getting at Diggs too, but the one that he got beat on, I want to say was Simi Fehoko, bro. I want to say it was Simi Fehoko, and the next thing you know, his Twitter was shut down. It was done. And then Black Lion
super chat
dropped one and said, I like the draft. I'm not emotional because the player I may have wanted, they didn't pick. The team has a philosophy. Jalen is going to ball this year. My guess you mean Jalen Brooks. Is that what you're talking about? Well, let me tell you something right now. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. I don't mean to rain on your parade. But if Jalen Brooks is a baller or is going to ball this year, boy, your wide receiver room is in trouble. Ain't no way Jalen Brooks to see the field. Ain't no way. That's all I'm going to say. All right, back to the chat and let's get up out of here. Beast Mode said he's only interested in Isaiah Land and Lipke making the team as undrafted free agent. Any more than that means your roster is weak. I'm still going through the list, Beast Mode. I'm still going through the list. And Land is one of them ones. Led the nation in sacks, HBCU. We talked about Fant today. We talked about Lipke yesterday. We're going to talk about Cropper. I think the receiver Cropper, man. You know, I think if an undrafted free agent wide receiver makes the team, I don't really see in that being a negative. I don't think the wide receiver room is locked down like a vault after the third and fourth guy. The fourth guy, yes, which is Tolbert. I don't think he's getting cut. But if they're going to carry 6, there's 2 spots up for grabs, 2 of them. And look, man, I don't mean to be a W. I see y'all dropping Jalen Brooks. I'm guessing that's what you mean. I'm not knocking this kid. You know, drafted by the Cowboys, rooting for him. Hope he does well. But I do not want to see this kid having to be a guy that you're like, man, this guy is balling for. Because that means Lamb's hurt probably, Cook's hurt probably, Gallup's hurt or they're just having a terrible year. That's kind of what I mean by that. You're dealing with a ton of injuries at the position, or you're dealing with a ton of underwhelming play. None of those 2 things sound good to me. Yes, sir, L. Like a vault, baby, locked down. Very underrated movie. All right, y'all. I'm going to get up out of here, man. I appreciate y'all for joining me today. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed today's show, hit that like button on your way out. Later on, we'll be back live with Vach breaking down Schoonmaker even more. And then tomorrow, I think I'm going to be doing Schoonmaker. I'm thinking about it. I have this. I kind of got what I want to do for the rest of the week, but there's not enough days, so I might have to bump one to next week. But I think what I'll do tomorrow is get into our second part of the rating, the draft series, and we'll talk Luke Schoonmaker. It only makes sense. That way we can get the first 2 picks out the way this week, and then we'll do 2 more picks, or maybe 3 next week as we head into rookie minicamp and then minicamp in general. So maybe that's what we'll do. Nonetheless, make sure y'all come on back tomorrow if you want to kind of get a preview of the Schoonmaker breakdown. We'll be talking about them on the Volume of the Washington Live show. And then later tonight, Mo will be back on for A to Z Sports Prime Time. And of course, you can follow A to Z Sports Dallas on all platforms from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We everywhere. And if you want to keep up with all the articles, you can at A to Z SportsDallas.com. And hit your boy up, man. Hit your boy up on Twitter, at Skywalker Still. I try to interact as best I can, as much as I can on Twitter. Not always about the Cowboys. 90% of the time it's about the Cowboys. And yeah, get with your boy. With that said, find my button. I've been doing this for 4 years with the same drop. Y'all ain't tired of that one yet? I'm not, but if y'all are, I'll switch it up. I love this drop. It's perfect. It's a perfect chill outro. You know what I mean? Appreciate you, Dallas Cowboys hard hitter. I'll see y'all later, man. I think he's going to be a player for you, Dustin. I do. We out here. Love you. Peace.
Squad!